Good afternoon, everyone. Hey guys, this is Bruce Marshall from Simpler Trading with the nightly market update for Wednesday, August the 11th. And looks kind of crazy here. I've got the ES chart up here on a daily. And it looks like a pretty wild day, and it was. We had some pretty big swings. That's been what we've been having lately. That's kind of every day. But the S&P only closed up about 11 points, so it's not as bad as it seems. But we opened. Well, this is the ES, so it's gonna be a little bit different. But the light gray is the pre-market. So this was when the CPI was reported this morning, and we ripped up here another new all-time high. We had two back-to-back all-time highs over here. I guess that was it there, maybe. 43, what was it, 38? Yeah, that was the previous all-time high. We've had, I can't even count all of the all-time highs that we've had this year. They just keep coming. Hits keep coming, right? It's been kind of crazy. But if we take this, I like to start, as you know, I like to start on a small time frame and work my way back. So here's a 10-day chart, and this gives you a little bit better idea of what's been going on. This is again, the ES. Well, matter of fact, let me switch it to S&P, and I'll go from there. So here is a 10-day chart on the S&P, and as you can see, we've been having, here's our snow line down here, skyline, and we've just been, chop, 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 and then we're going, higher, higher, higher. Let me put this on a 20-day, and you can see this big sell-off here. This was when the Delta variant, remember on that Monday? See, that's Monday, that big flush down because of uptick in Delta variant and all that kind of stuff, and then immediately bought the dip the next day, and the market never looked back. Kind of chopping back, and actually let me switch this back to the ES real quick. And you can see here how we get into this kind of tight chopping range. And if you watch the video I did last week, I was talking about this and kind of called it the summer doldrums. We're back and forth, big sell-offs, big rip higher, sell-off, rip higher, sell-off, rip higher, that kind of thing. And we just keep plugging away. Now notice here, skyline, we've hit this or approached this quite a few times, and we finally broke through it here today at 44.43. Again, that's ES. So we have a big magnet up there at 44.50, and then higher from there. And let me show you what that looks like. If we go to a 1-year chart here, as crazy as it sounds, we've got a snow line up there at 45.38. So we've got to get through 44.50 first, and then we'll have some other targets on the other side of that. But I do think we keep going higher here. Now that being said, be ready, because we're going to have, we will have one of these kind of flush downs at any point, and it could be, pretty meaningful, but I don't know where that kicks in. It probably, I will start getting a little bit more nervous the higher we go from here. Just because we're going higher and we're hitting new all-time highs does not mean we have to pull back. So I would be looking at 44, basically 4,500, 44.92, kind of 4,500 area. Let me switch this back to S&P, and I'll show you here. 45.18. So, again, there's no reason to think this thing doesn't keep going up here, but we'll have one of those flush downs. And I talked about this last week. When we do have the flush down, they buy the dip the next day. Flush down here in red, buy the dip the next day. Flush down here in red, buy the dip the next day. That type thing. So I don't think it's going to be anything meaningful unless, we can certainly have some bad news or some kind of news, economic news, inflation, taper tantrum, bond purchases going to stop, that kind of thing. That'll happen. We do have the Jackson Hole Summit coming up here on the 26th, and we'll could get some flack from that, I suppose. But all in all, everything looks higher. In fact, let me show you this. If I put a ribbon up here and I bring this thing back out, so this is the S&P. I mean, look at this. that's an 8-day moving average, 21, 34, 50. Look at this. I mean, we are just hugging that moving average right there. Let me zoom in a little bit. And it's, that is, there's nothing spooky or scary about this at all. You see that right there. We just keep coming right back. And this is really bullish, honestly. There's nothing that looks scary about this. Of course, we've come down a couple times there, 34, 50 moving average, that kind of thing. But again, there's no reason to come in and short this market as bad as I want to. I don't really see a reason to do that. That being said, I am all about doing a fade trade on some of this, just catch these little flush, pullbacks and flush downs. That's fine. But as far as setting up something like, Black Swan or anything like that, I'm not really interested in doing that at all. So for now, we just we continue to keep looking higher because the charts still tell us to look higher. Everything still looks good. That's a 20-day moving average right there on a 1-year chart. And again, we could, if we pull back to that 20-day, that's 43.93. That's a pretty good ways down from where we are, but it still wouldn't make any difference on the upward trajectory of this market. So I guess I'm just trying to emphasize, don't short this market yet. Fading it or scalping it's one thing, but I would not short it yet. I've been trying to buy some honey badger stocks. I've been buying, you guys know, I told you guys last time about Tractor Supply. Took off a really nice trade in Home Depot today that we bought. I bought some of it on Monday actually and got a nice, see that 20-day moving average right there? Bought it right there, got a really nice pop. They're going to report earnings next week. It's got that move's probably kind of over. We will set up something for earnings around Home Depot most likely, but that was a nice one. I'm trying to think of some of the other honey badgers, but there's not that many right now. We've got things moving all around. If you saw, the Nasdaq is kind of feels like it's getting a little unsure of direction here. We'll watch that pretty closely, but that's not concerning yet. There's some of the names. Amazon's still not working very well. We saw Google down a little bit today. Shopify got kind of smacked around. Nvidia, it's taking some heat today. So, that's not great, but it's also not out of the norm as far as where we are, in the charts and with the Nasdaq. So try not to read too much into that yet. So all that being said, I don't really have anything other than to say I'm a cautious bull. I'm still cautiously buying the dips in small size, and I'm cautiously fading this thing when it gets a little extended. Been working very well the last couple of months, really. So I'm going to keep with that same strategy. So that's what I've got for now. Hope that helps. Join us in the trading rooms, the gold room, the main room, or the bias room, and we can look at some individual trade names there. But for now, that's what I've got. So thanks for the time. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.
Without simpler trading, I could not have financial independence.
This is one of the best investments I ever made in my life.
It's helping me find consistency. It's one of the things that won me